By the way, on this pet one, this thing here, um, he's creating basically his reference object out here, but that's all it is a reference object. It's not an instantiation of the pet, but it's just a type pet. So, but he has not actually assigned it anything. Again, this kind of works like pointers in C# here a little bit, compared to C++. But he creates his pet down here only provided that the data is all correct, and I don't think I clearly pointed that out in one of the previous videos. This is me just clearing the text. I'm setting it to null, but you can set it just to quote unquote, as an alternative. I was just testing the null with it, but you can see it over there, or you can see everything basically. Anyway, just but the point is that he's setting his pet to an object here. Here's where he's actually instantiating it and calling its constructor. But only if all the information going into it is correct. Otherwise, we print in the text box, please enter correct data, like I showed you in the previous video. So, but you see this actually quite a bit in C#, where they create an object outside of it. But since they created outside of this method, it can actually, you remember there's two buttons associated with this. This button and this button, so that's two events. So if we go to this event here, it's still making use of the same pet object, even though it wasn't created in this scope. So it was created in the scope of this click, but the object itself was created outside of the scope of these two events, and basically as a member variable to the form class here, form2 class. So that's why it has access to it, because otherwise, first I was like, well, wouldn't that just be created in the scope of this, this function here, or even just in the scope of this if statement? But no, it's assigning a variable that was, a general member variable to it, and that's why it works. So that's why I've got a note to down here. So, and I forgot to mention that in the last video on the subject. So anyway.